Hey, everybody, and welcome to the True Crime Squad. This is Katie Weaver. I'm here with my sister, co host, and partner in crime, Christy Brower. Hello.
Hello. Hey, everybody.
How's it going?
It is going. I just put on these Halloween fingernails, which are so cute.
They are so.
Um, I don't know if I can wear them though. I feel as though I am have handicapped myself to a point that I don't know how to do anything with them on. So we'll see how it goes. They're very cute. They're hand painted. They're just darling. Um, but holy crap, they're long.
hmm And
It's a
they were
long
their short
fingernail.
ones.
These were the short ones, yeah.
Yeah.
These are a lot to contend with. They referred to these as the sport nails.
Uh huh.
I don't know what sport you're playing in these. Um, Kickball, maybe? No, I don't know.
Not something with
Some
your hands, for sure. Yeah.
something that doesn't use your hands. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm never super great with nails, but I really wanted to wear some cute Halloween ones. So we'll see. I'm giving it a go.
Well, okay. Sounds
Yeah,
good. Well, we had our first fall fair of the season last year,
mm,
yesterday.
we did. We did.
But it was fun. It was a beautiful, beautiful day.
Oh gosh, it was such a nice day. Actual fall weather, guys. We're getting it. We're so happy.
Awesome. And it was at our friend Kaylee's business, Mystic Misfits. They're in a brand new location, and their venue is just absolutely gorgeous. So that
Oh
was
yeah,
super
so
fun.
cool.
Got
That
to see
was.
some old friends, and that's what these fairs have just turned into, like, reunions for us.
Yeah, it's like old home week for us when we used to
hmm
have our store, and
Yeah.
everybody that you know from having that we just don't see on a regular basis has been really fun.
hmm Yeah. So it was great. And now today's actually Sunday, but we're recording our Monday and Tuesday episodes today, actually.
Look at us getting our shit together.
How are we this
So
organized? What happened?
I do not know, but it's fall.
hmm
The running of summer has finally wrapped up, so we'll be back to our normal content without so much trouble.
We're
It's
trying
gonna
to
be
be back
great.
to normal, which is really hard when you're just not normal at all. But here we are.
I know we do our best. We genuinely do.
hmm Well, I am going to. So it is Monday. We'll have a new episode on Tuesday, a new episode on Wednesday. And then, of course, we'll be back Wednesday night for case updates.
Hmm.
Also, this Saturday night and Sunday night, so the 14th and the 15th, is the Lifetime movie event of the Murdaugh
Extravaganza.
murders. And we're going to do a watch party both nights.
Yep.
So here's how it'll work. We will schedule them, and they'll be right here per normal, on YouTube. That's where you'll find them, and on our
Hmm.
Facebook page. We won't be on screen. There won't be anything on screen. Probably just a meme or something that we put up there.
Hmm.
But we'll be in the chat room. So we're all going to just watch those 2 nights of gripping television together. And we'll just be hanging out in the chat room talking about it and making, I'm sure, a lot of fun of, Alex
Snide
Murdaugh and,
remarks,
yeah.
the terrible casting we already know is happening. Yeah,
hmm
all that.
So it's just going to be fun. So watch for that coming up. I don't actually know what time it airs yet. We'll have to figure that out. But it
Hmm.
is on Lifetime. It is based on the Murdaugh murders. And that's going to be, yeah, Saturday and Sunday night. So watch them, pop in the chat room, and visit with us.
Yeah.
It's going to
You'll
be
see our lives
something.
get scheduled. So
hmm
just click the little bell so you get our notifications, and that way you will know.
Yep,
It's going to be great. We're going to snark our asses off, probably.
I'm sure that's true. Yeah.
Hmm.
But without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm going to kick the mic over to you for some WTF news.
Right? As you know, we've kind of launched a little spin-off of this show. We're still doing it on this show, but then we've got it on a dedicated podcast too, called Mormon Misdeeds Unveiled. And this is one of those episodes. So
Yes, it
let's
is.
talk about this gal right here. This is Roselle, known as Rosie Anderson-Stevenson. She was formerly known as Rosie Hamblin. She is 70 years old and she is from Provo, Utah. She is the ex-wife of David Hamblin. David Hamblin, and we're going to do a deep dive on this whole story, but I wanted to kick it off because she has just been arrested.
Mm.
David Hamblin was a therapist in Utah, Mormon therapist, who has been arrested and charged with some really heinous, aggravated sexual abuse of children.
Oh.
Well, his ex wife, Rosie, um, has now also been arrested. Um, David has been charged with sexual abuse of a child, lewdness with a child, rape of a child, and severe counts of sodomy on a child, and was booked into the Utah County Jail on one felony count of sodomy on a child. This
Oh my
is what
God.
she's facing. It's the same stuff he's facing.
Mhm.
Um, a district court judge found that there was enough evidence to support the charge and that this woman, let's look at her face, because she's just a kind of regular old looking white lady, pretty
Mhm.
typical Mormon white lady,
Mhm.
honestly. Um, the judge found her to be such a risk to the community that she is being held without bail. She
Wow.
is 70 years old.
That says a lot
So,
because the
yes,
courts hate, or the jails hate having people that old
in the
because,
jail. Yeah.
yeah, just for all the reasons. But yeah.
Now this case is kind of an old one. Now I'm not saying there aren't others because there probably are, but the original case is a female victim who came forward in April of 2022 in Utah County. She is now 42 years old. She told investigators that the sexual abuse began when she was 6 and lasted until she was 12 or 13.
Oh,
She maintains that she was sexually assaulted by David and Rosie Hamlin in their home in Spring City, Utah.
wow.
So, this is unreal. Trigger warning for all the things when it comes to child sexual abuse, for those of you that don't want to hear this. The victim is alleging that David Hamlin forced her to perform oral sex on his wife at the time, Rosie.
Oh.
The probable cause affidavit is really graphic,
Mhm.
and that's why I'm not going to read it. Um, she was being taught by Rosie and David how to perform oral sex on a female, is what the victim says.
Oh, for the love.
Uh,
What?
yeah. In the probable cause affidavit, it says the defendant and her husband took the victim into a bedroom where the defendant stripped nude and got onto her bed. The victim told investigators that is when she was forced to perform oral sex on Rosie, with David Hamlin giving instructions.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this was filed last Wednesday or 2 Wednesdays ago. This is quite recent that Rosie's arrest has taken place. So this was in, let's see, this was filed by the prosecuting attorney. And it shows that between 1992 and 1993, when the victim was 12 or 13 years old, she was at the Hamlin's home. They can prove that. It says she was taken into a room where Rosie Hamlin was wearing a sheer nightgown. It says David Hamlin, the co defendant, directed the victim to perform oral sex on Rosie while he laid on the bed with his genitals exposed. It
Oh
also
my
contends that the
God.
victim was promised a toy prize if she did a good job and did what she was told.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's horrible. And the already David Hamlin has already been charged here.
Mhm.
Um,
Well,
this
sounds
is
yeah.
part of an
Shit.
ongoing
Well,
investigation that's going on
yeah.
in Utah, in Joab and San Pete counties. Then these are things
Mhm.
that happened in the 80s and 90s. So this is
Mhm.
just the beginning of I'm afraid of what is going to be an absolutely horrific
Yep.
situation. We're going to do a whole episode on the Hamlins and on what we know now and kind of what's being investigated. But I wanted to kick it off with just letting you know that Rosie Hamlin has now been arrested and is being held without bail.
Good.
And that's exactly where she ought to be. And we're
Mhm.
going to see what's going to happen with her and David. They have arrested them and they're holding them in the same county. They want them in the same jurisdiction. I'm assuming they're going to try them together because what's being alleged is that they committed this abuse together.
Mhm.
This is stunningly horrifying.
Mhm.
You look at this little old lady, this little 70-year-old woman.
Mhm.
It there are a lot of cases like this in Mormonism. Shocking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shocking child sexual abuse. We've seen it before. We'll
Mhm.
see it again. But we will continue to cover the Hamlins and go into a deep dive. Probably next week, I'll do a whole deep dive on David Hamlin and the whole situation so that you all know what's going on. But we
Mhm.
wanted to shine some light on this and just continue the conversation about the rampant and unstoppable child sexual abuse that has happened in the Mormon church over the years. Seeing
Mhm.
this come to light now is awesome. But I mean, it makes me wonder how many victims are out there of the Hamlin
Right. Right.
if we'll
She
ever
couldn't
even know.
possibly be the only one. Couldn't
No.
possibly. But maybe her
It
bravery and willingness to speak up. Of course,
would
there's probably countless kids out there that did speak up, you know,
well, I'm afraid yes, because
and we're just
we
put right
know
back under the rug. Yeah,
growing
for
up in
sure.
this religion that lots of stuff just gets handled by the bishop,
Mhm.
which means that nobody does anything.
Yep.
So seeing these things come to light and being handled by the criminal justice system gives me a better feeling of at least there's something happening.
Yeah.
But how many more of these situations are going on
Well,
under
because
the
it's hard
guise
to
of
shut a 42-year-old up.
therapy and religion? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is hard to shut up a 32-year-old or
Mhm.
42-year-old. So
Yeah.
we'll be back with a lot more information on that case, but I did want to get that started. And with that, Katie, I'm going to kick it back to you for our main case.
Okay. This is a case that's been going on now for about a year and a half, and I will admit we haven't covered it yet. And it really, it's time. Some things have cropped up that make me want to get all over it. So here we are. So this is Jared Bridegan.
Okay.
Jared was an exec for Microsoft who was murdered in 2022. He was ambushed, and I'll tell you about it, but I want to show you. This is his ex-wife, Shanna Gardener-Fernandez.
Okay.
Shauna and Jared got married sometime around 2010. They were married for about 5 years. They had a set of twins. And Shauna is from a very prominent, extremely wealthy Mormon family from Utah. Her mother founded Stampin' It Up or Stamp It Up.
Stamp
It's
it up, I think.
yeah, it's a paper craft company that
Hmm.
she founded sometime around
Like
2008.
scrapbooking type stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm. Yeah. Which scrapbooking is huge
In
in Mormon
Mormons.
families.
Yeah.
Mhm. Huge. It's a big
It's
deal.
kind of an
This is
extension of genealogy, I think, is why.
mhm. Mhm. This is also an MLM, and if you don't know this,
Mm.
MLMs are huge in Mormonism. There we
Utah's the
talked about this
capital
before,
of the
but
country in MLMs.
mhm. Well, Mormon moms are really encouraged to not work. And it is a huge challenge because first of all, it's hard to live on a one-income family anymore. But also, you have a lot of women who need something besides raising their kids to do, and
Right.
honestly, besides church to do that gives them some sense of accomplishment and to bring some money into their families because they probably desperately need it.
Right.
When I was Mormon and my kids were little, I can't tell you how many meetings I was invited to, and that was always the crux of it. Well, don't you want to have do a job like this where you can leave the kids home with dad in the evenings here and there and have a little time away with the girls and earn a little
Yeah.
extra money. And that's what it was always about. And
Always. It's embarrassing to tell you how many MLMs we have been a part of.
mhm,
It's a lot, but
it's too
it's
many.
because of this
Hmm.
very thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And they always do their meetings at some more wealthy person's home, whether they're a part of this or not. They just
Right?
talk people with beautiful houses into letting them have meetings there, essentially. And
Hmm.
some woman marches in a fabulous outfit, beautiful and perky and bright as can be, and tells you all about this fabulous thing and how wonderful her life is since she started doing it. And don't you want to do it too? And pretty soon you're thinking about how you can move some money around and whip out your debit card,
Right.
because the promise is you can do what they're doing and maybe have more money and be a better mom.
Right. The constant pressure to
Mhm,
forever provide for your children, be absolutely the end all be all for them,
mhm,
but also don't work, but be
mhm,
productive, bring
mhm,
in money, but don't have a job,
mhm. But
be
here's
there
the
for your children
loophole
in
to
every
not work,
moment.
but actually
Yeah.
work. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Stampin' It Up is a company that is like that, and it went great guns. And the parents of Shanna are very, very wealthy due to that. So back to Shanna. They married around 2010. They had twins. One of the babies has a really serious heart condition, and they were
Mm.
told that he needed to be at sea level for his health. So Jared
Oh.
and Shanna moved to Jacksonville, Florida, where his roots are, in order to take the best care of the little one's health. Well, sometime around 2015, their marriage came apart. Uh, at one point, Jared had purchased her for Christmas some trainings, like with a private trainer at their gym.
Mhm.
And then rumors of an affair started to swirl that
Oh.
perhaps she was actually having an affair with the trainer. And it wasn't very long after that they divorced or started a divorce. The divorce was insanely contentious.
Mm.
And even once it was complete, Shanna basically, it sounds like, I'm presuming, had pretty much a blank check from her parents to do whatever. And so she drug him back into court over and over and over and over custody stuff. Now,
Yeah.
Jared's a slouch. He was an executive for Microsoft. He had plenty
Mhm.
of money and was defending himself and just wanted to be a dad. And at the time of his death, actually had 50-50 custody. And
Oh.
in 2017, he remarried, and Shanna remarried as well. He remarried a darling girl named Kirsten. They have had two more children since. So he had his twins that are about 11 now and about 10 around the time of dad's death, and then two younger children. Well, things continued to be very contentious with Shanna. And last year, he had come to get the kids and the twins. He took them to dinner. He had a weekly dinner date, it sounds like, with them. And he had also brought their half sister, their 2-year old daughter,
Mhm.
to dinner. So he went to dinner with three of his children, dropped the twins off at home, headed back down the road, and just a few miles down the road, he saw a tire in the middle of the road.
Mm.
So he stopped to move the tire, and while he was out of the car, somebody shot him many times and
Oh
killed him
God.
right there in the road, with his 2-year old in the car all alone.
Mm.
And in fact, they said that bullets flew very close to that child. Thank God she wasn't
Oh
hit.
God.
The police decided that actually that tire in the road was planted there. That was a part of
Oh
the
my
plan.
God.
They knew he would stop and get the tire out of the road, so that was part of the opportunity to ambush him and get him out of the car. So a little police work leads them to this gentleman, Henry Tenon or Tenon. So Henry He's in his early 60s. And as it turns out, he was a tenant to this guy.
Mm.
This guy happens to be, let's see, his name is Mario, I believe, Fernandez. Mario Fernandez. No, he doesn't go by Fernandez. Well, I think that's his actual name. Anyway, Mario happens to be the husband of Shanna Gardner-Fernandez.
Oh, geez. That's a little too close to home
Hmm.
to
So
be discounted.
Henry rolls right over, pleads guilty. He's pleads guilty to second-degree murder, and basically implicates who everyone thinks is Mario and Shanna. But Mario was arrested earlier this year, and nothing for Shanna. And the public has been like, what the hell? If he was involved, surely
Hmm.
she was involved. Her parents, in a statement that they sent out to all of their Stamp It Up reps, indicated that she and Mario had been separated for quite a while.
Mm.
Now, quite a while to me is pretty relative because this has all happened in the scope of, you know, from the time she got married the first time, it's only been 13 years. What is quite a while to you, you know?
Right.
I, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so in the meantime, after Jared died, she moved. She loaded the twins up and moved to Washington, where her parents purchased her $1 million home. And that's where she's been living with the kids.
Okay.
So, which really made people question why, because didn't the son need to be in Florida? Didn't he need to be at sea level for that heart?
Right.
Uh, Also, moved them away from their two half siblings and from their grandparents. And here we
Mm.
are. Now, her parents still live in Utah, but they do have the Stampin' It Up people, the Gardeners, but they did have a like $3.6 million beach house in Jacksonville, and they sold it in August.
Hmm.
So she's just been kind of living fat and happy in Washington, just letting Mario and, of course, Henry just take the fall for what happened to Jared. Well, lo and behold, finally, in August, she was arrested. She was indicted by a grand jury, and the charges are pretty intense. She's got charges for first degree murder and child abuse, and
Mm.
conspiracy to commit first degree murder, and
Mm.
solicitation to commit first degree murder. And the police are basically indicating that they think that she was likely not just involved, but the mastermind of this plan, which turned out to not be very masterful.
Mm.
But so now she was in court last week. They're still trying to get her extradited. It took quite a while for the governor of Florida to sign the extradition material. Jay
Mm.
Inslee now in Washington has signed his part. There was another delay. Her attorney says he's filing a writ of habeas corpus. They're basically just
Mm.
delaying as long as they can. She will be
Right.
extradited to Florida. The only way you can really successfully fight extradition is to prove that you're not the person they're looking for.
Right.
Well, she most certainly is, and
We
so
know
she'll
how well
be.
that's gone for other people. Nick
Mhm.
Alaverdi and Lori Vallow,
Yeah, yeah.
people like that.
Mhm. So she's fighting it, but it means nothing because it's just delaying the inevitable. But for right now, she is still in jail in Washington while they wait. But some
Wow.
stuff came out this last week about her parents that is really troubling.
Mm.
So, first of all, she has apparently given her parents custody of the children.
Mm.
It is really troubling to me that people who have been accused of major crimes and sometimes even convicted, if you remember one of the case of Chanel that we're covering out of Alaska right now,
Right.
that somehow People that have been accused and or convicted of major crimes can still call the shots about where their kids end up.
Yeah.
That's really bothersome to me, particularly in Shanna's case. The reason that there's a child abuse charge is because this happened in front of a 2-year-old.
Right.
That baby
That's
witnessed her
terrifying.
dad getting gunned down. She was nearly killed herself. And then
Mm.
she sat alone in that car for, it sounds like it was a matter of like 7 minutes or so, but still, until a passerby arrived and discovered this scene and this child. But
Mm.
anything could have happened. I mean,
Yeah.
luckily the people that came upon it were good citizens and called the police and got help. She could have been kidnapped. Anything could
Right.
have happened. They put her life in major danger. So that's why
For
there's a
sure.
child abuse charge. To me,
Hmm.
because there's a child abuse charge, because the charge has to do with the father of these children, I don't think Shanna Gardner-Fernandez ought to be able to decide anything about where they go. I don't.
Right. I know. I agree. It's a problem we have in the law.
Yeah.
Because how do we know they're making the right choice for their kids, or if they're just covering their own ass? We don't
In
know.
the yeah. In the meantime, essentially since Jared has died, his family is saying that they have been cut off completely from accessing the twins. They're not allowed to speak to them on the phone. They haven't been allowed to see them. They
Mm.
haven't been allowed to have anything to do with them.
How is that what's best? How is that what's best for these kids?
How indeed,
To
especially when
just
they
get
had
completely cut off from their dad's
50%.
family.
Yeah. And they had 50% of their time at dad's house with their
Mm.
half siblings.
Yikes.
So, stepmom, Kirsten, has been on the news, on the internet, doing podcast interviews, constantly saying, please, Shanna, we just want to see the kids. We just want to be a part of their lives. We want them to see their siblings. They miss them. We want to
Right.
be, family with them. And his parents as well, though it sounds like his dad has been ill and they don't really have enough. Who can fight people that have the kind of money that the Gardeners do? You
Right.
know? So here's what happened this week that is concerning, and again takes me back to this same frustration with families like this, because in the LDS church, families are king. There's nothing more important than family except for the church.
Hmm.
And
As long as it's the right kind of family.
exactly, as long as it's your family. But obviously,
Hmm.
they don't care about everybody's family with what they're doing. So now, of course, and actually, her mother was present when the police finally came and arrested her. Her mom was there at the house. So
Mm.
they've now taken the children. And so Jared's family is now asking a court to give them custody of the grandkids. They're like, no,
Mm.
this bitch is in jail for helping, to pull off the murder of our son. No, we want the kids, right? So the Gardeners filed some forms this last week that were full of lies or
Mm.
potentially lies. And it was actually Fox News that broke this story. So here's what they said. They said that they have several things on their forms that are misleading to the least and completely dishonest at the most. So this is the petition that was filed in Benton County Superior Court in Washington. So one of the questions is, during the past 5 years, have any of the children lived outside of Washington state? Well, yeah. For 4 of these years, they have lived in Florida, right?
Hmm.
They said no. Uh,
Mm.
there's a whole set of questions after that for a comprehensive list of where they've lived and with whom, and they just skipped it.
Mm.
So,
That's not going to fly with the courts at all. You
no.
can't just lie and withhold information. The judge is not going to tolerate that.
hmm I mean, they signed this form under with their lawyer under penalty of perjury, but it was more than
Hmm.
that. There's a question on the form that asks, do you know of anyone besides you and the parents who have or claims to have a legal right to spend time with these children? And they said no, even though Kirsten Bridegan has helped raise these kids and has been begging to have some connection to them.
Well, and has made claims to have that as the grandparent, as have
Uh,
the other
yeah.
grandparents.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And then the other thing that's really troubling is that there's a question that asks the Gardners to list the children's assets, and they omitted the very sizable trust accounts that both of the twins have.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So none of those things are going to be hard to prove or to
No.
fight. And, it's the hope of the Brightigans that the court sees this for what it is and go, yeah, no.
Hmm.
Really, really frustrating. Now, the Gardners have requested that the children have limited or no visitation with their mother due to her charges. Oh, we're doing the right thing now? Okay.
Hmm.
I don't think so. I think this is really frustrating. I think this is really wrong.
Yeah.
And it'll be really interesting to see what the courts decide to do with this because they committed perjury in the forms and needed to be able to, receive custody of these kids.
Hmm.
And had they not done that and just said straight out, we're the mother of, or the parents of their mother. Yes, she has these charges. We want to remain a part of their lives. We want to help raise them. We have the financial means to do so. We have the time to do so, whatever.
Right.
But here's all of the facts of the case. That would be one thing totally different. But the fact that they lied and they lied and they lied, why? Why?
Yeah. Why?
Why
Why?
can't we
And
just,
do they really think they're going to get away with that? Like, do you think that this information is going to be taken at face value and not checked?
yeah,
I mean,
I
come
think they
on.
do.
Because
Yeah,
the
I think
courts are
they
going to
do.
look at what's best for these children. Bottom line.
Mhm. Yeah. So, it's a hard case. It's a very sad one. It makes me so sad for these kids. They just do not deserve this. They've
No,
obviously been drugged through it over and over and over again with in their short lives, and it really really sucks. In
it
the
does.
meantime, you've got grandma posting pictures of her doing all kinds of fun stuff with the kids, just acting like life is sunshine and roses.
Mm,
It's just gross.
it
And anyway, I really hope for the Bridegan family's sake that they get custody or half custody or something
something,
to be able to have these children in their lives. They certainly deserve that.
right? Well, and these kids deserve to have their whole family. They've already
Yeah,
lost their dad. They're supposed to lose their whole dad side of their family and their half siblings. It's not
because of
right.
their mother's crimes. I mean,
Right.
come on. So we'll keep a close eye on this case. Obviously, we're going to be waiting for extradition to happen. It
Hmm.
looks to me like it's probably will happen by the end of October, but we'll see. I believe they have another hearing on the 16th, so I don't think she's far from heading to Florida. She will be facing the death penalty, by the way. And Florida
Wow.
just made it even easier to give the death penalty. So,
Yes,
Shanna,
they
you should
did.
probably be shaking in your shoes right now.
I would think so. Wow.
Yeah. So, there you go. So, with that, I'm going to kick the mic back over to you for a true crime news update.
Yes. We have been following the Ruby, Frankie, Jodi Hildebrandt child abuse situation since the beginning.
Hmm.
And I thought I'd give us a little update, just some clarity and kind of where we're at with this case now. So, Ruby and Jodi are both in jail with currently no bail.
Hmm.
They were supposed to have, they haven't even been charged um, officially yet.
Hmm.
And they were supposed to have bail hearing a couple of weeks ago. There was a request to hold off on that for a while till after the 5th of October, which has come and gone. So I'm thinking we're going to start seeing something happen here,
Yeah.
because there is such a preponderance of evidence in this case.
Mm-hmm.
They are currently each charged with 6 counts of aggravated felony child abuse. This is, you'll remember, due to one of the Frankie children escaping from Jodi Hildebrandt's house and going to a neighbor. And this child had obviously was emaciated, had injuries, said that they'd been being tied to the floor and asking for help. So a neighbor called 911. Um, two of the children, the two youngest of the 6 Frankie children, were found in that house, and we're learning more about what's been happening and why this has
Mm-hmm.
all happened. So Ruby and Kevin, were the family vlogger uh, account 8 passengers. They've been around
Yeah.
for quite a few years. There have been concerns about child abuse with them in the past. They have been reported. Their account was reported to YouTube. A lot of things have happened because
Oh,
people were
yeah.
concerned about the extreme parenting techniques that were being used.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for the last year, Kevin and Ruby have been estranged, living separately while going through family therapy, couples counseling, something like that, with Jodi Hildebrandt.
Mm.
Jodi Hildebrandt is a fairly well known therapist in Utah, particularly an addiction therapist, and has been utilized by the Mormon Church quite a lot to, if a bishop, which is a Mormon clergy member, had someone they needed to send to counseling, they have a list of people that the Mormon Church recommends, and Jodi has been on that list.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you a little bit about Jodi, because there's some really there's some really concerning things that have gone on. So Jodi has most recently been the founder and creator of the Connections Classroom. It was based in Orem, Utah. And this curriculum is based on her experience working at a program called Circ Lodge, which is a drug rehabilitation center that
Mm-hmm.
treats addiction. So after leaving her job there, she created this Connections 101 course, which is teaching through different counseling programs that she offered through her website, Connections Classroom. The reviews that are coming out about Jodi and Connections are
Mm.
shocking, terrifying. Um, some of the things that have gone on, things have been really, really destructive. Her work has been very destructive of
And not just
families
now, like for a
for
couple of
a
decades.
significant amount of
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Jodi's whole main teaching is that everyone is in distortion. Their life is distortion. Their way of dealing with things, the way that they look at their lives is distortion, and she has to bring them back to truth. And
Mm-hmm.
the truth is her truth.
Mm-hmm.
So the basis for her program are being addicted to things like your spouse, work, shopping, electronic games, sleep, social media, driving,
Mm-hmm.
receiving compliments, exercise, eating, drugs or alcohol, sex, pornography, hobbies, and entertainment. Her
What the
list of things
hell?
that you can become addicted to is basically endless, which is completely ridiculous
Mm-hmm.
and does not fall within any actual mental health guidelines. These are the vast majority of these things are not things that you can be addicted to.
Particularly her big focus on pornography and
Yes,
accusing people of being porn addicts that flatly are not,
right.
and being really focused on that kind of stuff.
Very heavily
Yeah.
focused on it. Um, she also focuses on living in shame and denial.
Mhm.
knowing you are not enough, being codependent in your relationships, living in lust, which includes being sexually attracted to your spouse.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh,
And controlling and manipulating other people. So, as far as Jodi Hildebrandt has been concerned, everyone lives in distortion.
mhm,
And the only way to come out of distortion is to go through her very extreme therapeutic practices, therapeutic with air
mhm.
quotes, and live in her truth. Okay. There is a website called go to jodihildebrandt.com. This is a website that it is not her website. This is a website that's been organized by people who see themselves as having been her victims. There are a lot of reviews
Mhm.
from people talking about their experiences with her and how destructive she has been and how much she has damaged people's
Oh, yeah.
lives and destroyed their
She has
families.
ruined people's lives over and
Absolutely
over.
ruined their lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it is confirmed that Jodi Hildebrandt is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
Mhm.
and that she, has been contracted by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to provide her kind of therapy
Mhm.
to many people, and paid by the Mormon Church.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of people say that what Jodi teaches and what she does, they don't line up with Mormon teachings, but that's actually not true at all. They really do. The guilt, the shame, the constantly being wrong, the
Mhm.
need for someone else to forever tell you what you're supposed to be doing, the confrontational way that she runs her programs.
Mhm.
She has a women's group and a men's group, and the men are to confront each other about their behaviors. The women are to confront each other about their behaviors. It's so familiar to me because as Mormon kids, we were constantly confronted by other people in our
Mhm.
neighborhood, in our ward. If they felt like we were wearing inappropriate clothing or doing or saying something
Mhm.
that wasn't appropriate, people would just come right up to you and confront you to your face. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's definitely a big part of this. And the
I
constant
mean,
guilt and shame
yeah.
and the
Not only
over
is that
focus
accepted, but it's expected.
expected. Yes.
You
The
consider
guilt
it
and shame
BYU,
around sex
Idaho.
and sexuality,
Mm.
huge,
Yeah.
very much it is Mormon.
Oh, yeah.
What she's been teaching and
Totally.
doing is very Mormon.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, say what you were going to say about BYU Idaho.
Yeah. At BYU, Idaho, and at BYU, Brigham Young University, these are uh, Mormon church-owned colleges. They have to sign an honor code that is very strict and has a lot of rules. And if you, as a roommate, know that your roommate isn't following the honor code, if you don't turn them in, when they get caught, you're getting sent home too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
let that sink in. If you know that your roommate is sneaking around with their boyfriend or coming home after curfew or smoking and drinking or lots of other things, and you don't go to the bishop or the honor code office and say, hey, my roommate's doing this stuff, if and when they do get caught by someone else, you are going to be in trouble for not ratting them out.
Yep. Yeah.
Missionaries now have phones because they do a lot of their missionary work via social media these days.
Hmm.
Missionary companions are expected to check each other's phones periodically, go through their phones to make sure they're not doing things they aren't supposed to. Oh, yeah. It's
They're
very much
young adults.
expected to police each other and turn each other in for any slight. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So things are just uglier and uglier with this situation. We have learned that in this year, where Ruby and Kevin were separated, Kevin was not allowed to make any contact with Ruby or their children, and that he only Ruby could reach out, and she only did 3 or 4 times in a whole year.
Hmm.
He says he has no idea what was happening with the kids. I'm not gonna. speak to that because I have no way of knowing if he knows what was going
Yeah.
on with the kids. Now, if I was being refused contact with my own children, I think I'd be doing something about it, you know.
Mhm.
Um, People have trusted Jodi so implicitly in this situation that it is
Mhm.
terrifying to the level of not attempting to reach out and check on his own children.
Mhm.
We
Yeah,
know
and that
now
doesn't
that
even feel like trust to me. That feels like fear.
it is fear. And that's
Yeah.
what many people talk about at jodihildebrandt.com is
Mhm.
the fear tactics, the shame, the guilt, the
Yeah.
attacking verbal attacking of each
Mhm.
other and of, from her very aggressive behaviors.
Getting them in trouble with their church, with their
Mhm.
work.
Getting
She's
people
done all of
fired from their
that.
jobs, getting them
Yeah.
excommunicated, all kinds of things. Lots and just endless amounts of confidentiality violations for therapists.
Mhm.
It is endless. We know that the two middle Ruby children who were living at Ruby's house, who had been going at Ruby's house, not at Jodi's house at the time that the arrests were made, they were picked up and spending some time with a woman named Pamela Bouchard. Pam is somehow involved here. She's been a part of working with their one of their programs called Moms of Truth. She was an admin in one of their groups. She was assisting them in some ways.
Mhm.
And at the on the day that this all occurred, she had the two middle Ruby children at her house
Mhm.
because there were some questions about where were all these kids, and they're not even in the
Yeah.
same town. They were 250 miles apart at the time of the arrest.
Wow.
So those kids were given the opportunity to either go with their oldest sister Sherry or to go into foster care. So they went with their sister Sherry. So they've been with her.
Mhm.
There have been whisperings that all the kids are going to end up with Sherry now, and that
Mhm.
they're not going to put any of the kids with Kevin at this point until this investigation is over. We're not 100% sure if that's true or not because family court is sealed. And so
Yeah.
there have been some custody hearings. We don't know exactly what happened
Mhm.
in those hearings.
But poor Sherry, she's, I believe, a
Yeah.
junior in college,
Yeah.
and she's
She's a
going to
young
assume
woman.
custody of all of the rest of her siblings.
Yeah. Well, there's one other child who's also an adult, but
That's
of
true.
four of
That's
them,
18. That's
yes,
right.
it's 18. But there are
Mhm.
four minor children in this situation.
Mm.
And we just sort of are waiting for what's going to happen next. What's going to happen in court? Where are we going to go from here? We know that, it recently came out that the children that were being held had rope burns on their
Mhm.
wrists and ankles, and that those rope burns were being treated with a mixture of honey and cayenne pepper,
Mhm.
which is torture.
Yeah.
We know that over time, Ruby was spending more and more time actually living with Jodi,
Mhm.
and that her children were being in some sort of quasi intensive therapy with Jodi at her house
Mhm.
to the
Yeah.
point of being held captive there and being starved
Yeah.
and abused.
Yeah.
Apparently, there had been some previous calls about the kids and
Yeah.
concerns over time. So, Child Protection had been, or DCFS, I think in Utah, had been investigating the Frankies for a while, but had never
Mhm.
found anything actionable
Mhm.
and had told oldest daughter Sherry that basically Child Protective Services couldn't do anything until somebody actually gets hurt,
Wow.
which is horrible. And now that has in fact happened.
Yeah.
The state of Utah has frozen Jodi's counseling license. No shit.
Well, good.
There have been medical concerns for both Jodi and Ruby while in jail because it turns out they don't really like being locked up. Irony, anyone?
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. I did. it's an update that isn't a lot of an update. We just know a little more about what's gone on here, but we don't know
Yeah.
still exactly what's going to happen through the courts. I
Mhm.
think at this point, what's been happening is getting the kids into a safe situation, and that's the most
Yeah.
important thing. Is getting them
Absolutely.
into a safe situation, and then figuring out, what did dad know? Is he
Yeah.
to be charged as well? We don't know that. He hasn't been yet, but I
Mhm.
would say that that doesn't necessarily mean he won't be.
Right. Yeah.
But we will continue to watch this situation. It's horrifying. It's absolutely
Mhm.
horrifying. And it's horrifying that it had to get to this level with the
Mm.
Frankies and with Jodi Hildebrandt before action
Mhm.
was really taken. Um,
Oh,
because in
yeah, because
reading,
yeah.
this has been known information for a long time.
Yeah, Jodi's the
Um,
worst.
well, and Jodi has done things like when they were arrested, she told the police that the two Frankie children that had been being held captive should not be allowed to be
Mhm.
around other children. There's been implications that they are sexual predators.
Yeah.
Here's the thing you have to
Children,
understand,
victims.
victims. But the other thing that you have to understand about this is what Mormons view as pornography, what Mormons view as aberrant sexual behavior, are not what you, the rest of the world, probably think
Yeah.
at all. I
Mhm.
mean, viewing pornography could be viewing a movie with a woman scantily clad.
Mhm.
That's easily pornography. I mean, I've
Yeah.
joked about my porn shoulders that I often wear sleeveless
Mhm.
clothes when we do our show because of my porn shoulders. Because we were told as children, as young girls, by
Mhm.
general authorities of the Mormon Church, not to create pornography of ourselves
Mhm.
simply by dressing inappropriately, which meant showing our shoulders,
Yeah.
wearing anything above the knee.
Mhm.
Yeah. So when these two say things like that, you have to really take it with a grain of salt because it's likely that what they're saying would not hold up to the rest of the world's definition of being a predator.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, they tried to claim that the little boy has been a porn addict since he was 3.
Yeah,
That's the
crazy.
craziest shit I have ever heard.
Yeah, first of all, how would a child even have access to pornography? And what are we calling pornography?
Yeah.
A PG-13 movie? It could
Right.
happen in Mormonism. So
Absolutely.
that's where we're at with the Frankie and Hildebrandt situation. I think we're going to see some movement with the courts pretty quickly because the request was to not move forward prior to August 5th for the bail hearing. And that date has come and gone. So I'm
Mhm.
suspecting that this week we're going to see some court dates and some movement forward.
Mhm.
And so we'll continue
Shortly.
to cover that.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty. Well, this has been our Monday episode. We'll be back Tuesday, Wednesday night for case updates. And then, of course, watch for the watch parties over the weekend for the Murdaugh Murders Lifetime movie event. So
Yeah.
that's what we've
Dun, dun,
got coming up.
dun.
Be sure to like, share, follow, you know the things. Thanks so much for being here, you guys. Have a great day. Take good care of yourselves. You deserve it. This has been yet another production of the True Crime Squad.
Bye, everybody.